the news anchor woman, sweetest lady. Her name is Marty Velasco Hames, and I worked with her for like another 4 or 5 years. But so she opens up the segment. She's like, "Hi, I'm here with Chris Powell, and he's here to explain." And I'm like, "Thanks, Marty." So anyway, dude, I didn't let her get one word in, and I railroaded her.
Listening, our guest today is Chris Powell. I don't know if is it offensive to say celebrity trainer? How would you like to be titled?
You know what? Call me. They titled me this a long time ago. A transformation specialist.
There you go. There you go. Of literally millions of people.
Which has been an honor. Like what a blessing. It's been a really like a wild ride. That's for sure.
I think the best way to start this, Chris, is with a story because believe it or not.
Oh, he's got a story. Trust me on this one.
Believe it or not, Chris, you are the reason that I know this man sitting to my left.
Yeah.
Let me explain.
Please do. You have my undivided attention right now.
Because we've never met, obviously. This is the first time we're meeting. But you are the reason I know Darren Woodson. So 2013, my wife and I moved out to the DFW. And she had gotten a job as a second grade teacher. And I didn't have a job yet. I didn't know what I wanted to do, wasn't really sure. I knew fitness was something, I wanted to be involved in fitness somehow. And my thought was always that I was going to be a college strength and conditioning coach. And until I found out you make about $25,000 a year and you work 80 plus hours. So anyway, or more, right? So one night we're staying at my in-laws' house when we first moved out here, and we're sitting there and we're watching Extreme Weight Loss, your show. And I don't remember the person's name, but it was a lady, and just how the story goes or how the show goes, she had lost this unbelievable amount of weight. And literally her life was changed because of what you did for her. And I remember watching that episode, sitting there thinking, I want to do that. I want to have an impact on people just like Chris does. And so that led to me getting a job as a personal trainer, which led to Darren walking in one day and we started working together. And so for the next, whatever, I guess we met in 2015.
2000, yeah.
So inadvertently, you ruined my life by introducing me to Darren Woodson.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Dude, that is so wild.
Yeah. So I literally owe my personal, I don't do that anymore. I've since moved on to other business with Darren. But what led me to that was your show and the impact that you were making on people.
Wow. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You have no idea how much that means to me.
Yeah.
And that's really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Because, like whenever I'll hear a story like that or someone inspired to start training, like what a gift for me. Yeah. That's what it is. It's you literally giving me a gift because like that's what fills my bucket. Is the thank yous, that's what gives me purpose,
Chris, doesn't it amaze you that you have no idea how many people you probably have inspired your entire life? You're clueless. Like, honestly, you would be clueless to know the effect. Like, if Ben doesn't say something today and we've never met, he's just one of millions of people that have probably had a similar story to that.
You're going to make me cry, Darren. don't make me cry. But it's something that like I'll sit back and I'll like try to conceptualize and I just can't. And so I don't think about it. And I just, I just keep moving forward with the sense of urgency of the fact that like my job here isn't done, but yeah, like it is wild. And especially like when I hear stories like that, even now after the fact, the show hasn't been on for a few years and still to have people just come up to me at the airport and be like, dude, you inspired me. I used to be 360 pounds and I'm just like, man, like I am blessed. I'm blessed to have had the opportunity, and I'm just forever grateful to have had that platform to make an impact. But my job here is far from done. It's far from done. I'm just getting started. So.
Well, we're going to get into that, but we want to know what's led you to this point. And so what we always do with every guest is we take it all the way back, literally back to the beginning, and how you grew up, where you grew up, what family life was like. What was that like for you?
Wow. Okay. I'm going to try to keep the story as concise as possible here for you, but it goes a few different directions. So
that's fine. Yeah.
Born in Mesa, Arizona. My dad, he was former military, got into the airlines. So we traveled around a lot, but I did the majority of my childhood was in the central coast of California, like Salinas, Monterey area. And I was always just about me and where I was at, just physically, emotionally. I was always the smallest kid in school. And, because a lot of people are like, well, have you ever struggled with your weight? And I said, no, I didn't. I actually came from the other end of the spectrum. I was always the tiniest kid. And so, of course, between 4th and the 7th grade, and actually 4th and 8th grade, that was like the time that I got bullied the most. And again, just being the smallest kid in school, you're a really easy target. Mm-hmm. And so I went through that a lot. Then we moved to the Pacific Northwest when between the 9th and 10th grade. And I actually, like you guys, except I never made it past high school. I always wanted to play football. And that was my dream. And I tried out for the team, and I was brand new kid, brand new school, brand new state.
Oh, how old were you, Chris?
I was 14.
14, okay.
Yep. Maybe 105 pounds left, and maybe 5'3". And like lucky, and that's with my cleats on, right? And so I went out there and I just got destroyed. And so the school hadn't started yet because this is football camp, and then basically the practices starting, daily doubles and all that stuff. And 2 weeks in, I quit. And my parents, they had seen what I had gone through between 4th and 7th grade, et cetera. And now this is my chance to just kind of try to come into my own and just feel like I'm part of a team, and, just feel like I'm something. And I was trying to get my power back because I felt like so much of it had been taken away just from my childhood. And I was so defeated. I quit. My parents, they saw this. We had been living in Vancouver, Washington for like 2 weeks at this point. And I came back. This is like probably the 3rd day of school. I'm the new kid. Come back the 3rd day of school, and all of our living room furniture was gone. And there was a weight set in the middle of the living room floor. And they left the TV in there and a weight set. And I'm going to actually give all the credit for this direction in my life to my mom and my dad, because they had the wherewithal to see that I was broken, and to see where I was at. And they said, well, you got to do something about this. Let's see what we can do to give him his power back. And so there's a weight set in the middle of the living room floor. And I literally just I would come home from school every day, and I'd put my backpack on the ground, and I'd sit on the weight set and turn on TV, and I just kind of find different positions on the bench, with the pec deck and everything. And I just chill and watch TV. After a couple of weeks, I'm like, I might as well just give this thing a go. So I just started playing around with it. A little bench press, some pec decks, some lat pull downs. And it became like a challenge for me. Every day I would come back and I'd throw on a little extra weight and throw on a little extra weight. My parents started getting more and more wheels to start putting on their little 5s and 10s and everything. And after about a month, I realized I was getting significantly stronger. And I remember looking in the bathroom mirror. And again, I kind of had to get up like this to look in the mirror. Right? So I got a stool, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I could actually see and feel muscle development. That game over. That was it. That was 14 years old. It clicked, and I'm like, that's the answer. This is what's going to give me my power back. And even though I was still small in stature, my mom took me to the grocery store. I bought Flex magazine, Muscle and Fitness, everything you could possibly do. How to get bigger biceps in 24 hours, the whole thing. And I dove in, and every day I was just obsessed with coming home and lifting weights. And, even though I was still small, I got really strong, really fast. I got faster. I got more explosive. And then I had the guts to start training in the high school gym after school. Where I'm down there training. This is about 5 months in, and I'm feeling good and looking good. I'm feeling more confident. And a lot of these kids that were playing football, the season's over, and now they're coming into the weight room, and they're like, it was the craziest thing, because now here I am, I'm 15 years old now, And they're like, dude, how do you increase your bench press? How can I run a faster 40? I'm like, so check out this article that I was reading the other day. I was training kids when I was 15 years old, and these are the kids that I was on the field with.
Yeah. So this is what you became empowered by this, right? I mean, okay. So I got one question for you though, because I know this guy next to me, and he's trained me for a number of years. Are you obsessive in this? I mean, naturally, what kind of person are you, and how are you built? Are you just result driven? Like you see the results and then you're all in, or, give us a little background on how that works for you.
I'm full transparency, guys. I'm not a balanced person at all. I'm very on just, yes, I am obsessive, to answer your question.
Mm-hmm.
When there's something that I need to achieve, I fixate on it to a point where even like my family, my friends, and my loved ones have to pull me away from it. They have to pull me into family time. They have to pull me into, because I get fixated on things and I can't stop until I achieve it. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing. I mean, it's I
think it's great, man. Honestly, I think it's great. And as we're talking here as friends, one of the great things about us doing this podcast, and the reason why I ended up doing this podcast is because I knew he was so obsessive about the podcast industry and about the success of this podcast that I know I'm not as obsessive. I don't have that kind of mindset. He does. He was going to hold me true. I mean, you got to know your strengths and weaknesses, right? And surround yourselves with people who have, certain strengths. So I love people that are that way. And I've always said it on this show. I admire people that are obsessive, and who cares what everybody else thinks? If you have a passion, go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you feel called to do something, you have to. You have to, because the last thing I couldn't imagine 90 years old in a nursing home looking back and saying, I should have done that. I wish I did this. Because who knows how many shots you got at living a life like this, And it's just like, hey, this is my opportunity to really make a dent in the universe and to really change some lives. And so I'm with you 1,000% there. You got to go for it.
Yeah. So, and as you're sitting here talking, you said, you quit as a 14-year-old. And so I'm wondering for you, because that's very similar to me. I quit my first sport as a 9th grader. So same age as you. And that led to a path of years of quitting, honestly. And so I've over-rotated since then to now that I'm an obsessive freak. And anything that I set my mind to, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. So I'm wondering for you, because this podcast is not about me.
You sure it's not about you?
I'm wondering for you, did that first time you quit, is that what spurred this mentality that you have now, or did those two, have nothing to do with each other?
No, it plays a huge role in my personality today. Number one, there's for my size and stature, I still didn't grow a whole heck of a lot. I'm 5'8", I'm 182 pounds, but like there's always there's an 8-year-old kid inside still who's striving to be bigger, faster, stronger, who's striving to feel safe.
Sure.
And it's something, guys, I've been to years of therapy, trying to really work around this. Tyler, what the hell, dude? What the hell, man?
He doesn't have headphones in yet. Chris said, Tyler, what the hell, dude? Dude. We're sitting here having a great conversation.
Just ruined the flow. And just like, and you saw my leg stick in and then just kind of slid in like nobody's going to notice.
Nope. Sorry, I saw you right there on the corner of my screen. I'm like, come on, Tyler, I'm not going to let you get away with this.
Man, I'm so sorry.
16 minutes late, bro.
We told him, hey, bust Tyler's balls.
Hey, for real. Like literally, like I'm sweating. I'm finishing a project and I'm literally like I'm sweating, like because I know Ben's going to give me a bad time about this.
I love it, Tyler. I'm messing with you, brother. Nice to meet you.
Hey, great to meet you, man. Thank you for coming on. We're excited.
So keep going, man. Join this.
So, there's always that little kid inside, who's just striving to get there, and because I found that power and I found my identity and my strength, and so I'm terrified to lose that. And I'm 42 years old now, and I'm still struggling with that. Like, heaven forbid I get injured, and I've had multiple surgeries, and it messes with me more than it messes with most, because it's like my identity is like, I feel like if I lose my strength, if I lose that, I'm vulnerable again and I'm not safe. And so there's always that psychological factor that, you can trace this on most people all the way back to those different moments as a child. Now, and then Ben, you bring up, quitting. That is another thing. That's one of those pivotal moments that I always go back to. And from that point on, I have always strived to be a good teammate, because I felt like I failed in my ability to actually be a good teammate for people. And so this is something that I was scared of for the longest time, because I didn't want to, I'm always terrified to let my team down. So I overcompensate as an individual. So I try to bring as many gifts to the table, as many talents. Like I keep trying to bring everything to the table to show that I'm valuable to the team. Look, guys, here's what I can do. Because I didn't feel like that before.
Dude, we
literally had this conversation like 4 days ago.
I mean, you're taking the words out of my mouth. I'm the same exact way. So many years of failing, letting people down. Now it's like, I'm going to do everything I can, because I've got to prove my value. I've got to prove my worth to this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're like me, then you strive, and you basically, like, you thrive off of their admiration and their compliments. Like, dude, Ben, that's great, dude, you smashed it here. It's just like, bro, that's better than getting paid.
It really is.
The compliments, like,
a drug.
Oh, dude, like, Ben's the man. This is what he does. Like, he put this whole podcast thing together. Da da da. You're like, and I just, like, that fuels you, right?
Yep. Yeah. So what's the downside that you've seen then of that mentality?
I haven't seen much of a downside to it.
That's great. It's awesome. Yeah. So I think from a sustainability standpoint, though, like, is that, do you think that that's something that you can keep that up? Because, you're always the first ones up. You're always the last ones to go down, like, from a sustainability and also to just like a fulfillment, right? If you're always chasing for that fulfillment and you've got to put in the work to do it, I mean, when is enough?
Yeah. And I think that's a really good question, Tyler. And I think it's when it starts to interfere in other areas of your life that are your priorities, like your family, like your time with your kids, which is, I mean, obviously when I had children, a lot of things changed, because it was me, and it was like, I'm pursuing my vision, I'm overachieving, I'm creating, blah, blah, blah. Then, I got married, and then my priorities shifted, and then we had kids, and now it's like, okay, now how can I try to find this balance? And the thing is, I spent 10 years still struggling to find that balance, and I'm still trying to find it through all these other transitions in my life. And so, I mean, right now, like, the two biggest things in my life, I mean, actually three, is going to be like just maintaining my own health, because if I don't have that, I don't have anything. And then my children, and then my mission, and then but I'll be honest with you, again, like, I can't sit there and preach about, oh, you need to find balance and all this stuff, because I'm still struggling to find it. And Tyler, I still find myself burning out too.
Yeah.
Like, as we speak, I've spent probably in the last 2 weeks, the most sleep I've gotten any given night is maybe 5 hours, and it's not enough for me. I need 7 to 8, and I'm burning the candle at both ends. Yeah, it's like, but I'm working on something really big, and it's exciting. It keeps me going, but again, I can't keep up this pace forever.
Right. And you mentioned balance, and one of those things, and I think I've said it before, is when you say balance, because I was asked, I can't find balance. I can't find balance. When I transitioned from football to real estate, it was like, well, I can't find balance between family and work, and I can't. But then someone told me, and it was Matt Chandler, a pastor here in Dallas, and he said, hey, you talk about balance. Like, what is balance? Balance means the scale is set and it doesn't move. Right? That's saying that your life is stagnant and it's not going to move. Exactly. And you found the perfect equation and it's never going to change. Because there's no such thing as balance. And it's like, that was kind of an enlightening thing for me. It was like, well, things are always sometimes I'm going to have to give more time to work and my mission. And sometimes I'm going to have to really, really focus on my family. Because that's, as a father as well, we all are here, and I've got 4 little kiddos. And it's like, yes, like faith, my family, my wife and my kids first, and then work. But unfortunately, your family doesn't require as much time as your work does, right? You're putting in 10, 12, 14-hour days for work, and then you fit your family in. But we all say this, and this is I'm talking to myself here. It's like, well, my family always comes first. Like, I'll always pick it. But then even today, and this is a real life situation, we just got a dog, and my wife was anti-dog, like for 10 years. And I was like chipping away. And I even played dirty, like to get my kids to like really guilt her into getting a dog. And so she finally gave in, and we got it last week. We got this little designer dog. Yeah, it's a pound right now, right? And my wife is obsessed with this dog, absolutely obsessed. She loves it because she loves babies, and she's like, I'm gonna have a baby forever because it's gonna be tiny, right? Well, it got sick this morning, and literally, like, this is like her world is like coming down, and she's calling me. She's dropping it off at the vet, and I have this really important call at 10 o'clock, and she's literally mid-sentence. I was like, okay, is the dog okay? She goes, yeah, it's gonna be okay. And I was like, I've got to get off because I have to get on this work call. Like, I literally got on this call, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, my wife, no question, I'm going to pick her over work. Hold on, I just did.
Was it a deal you and I were on?
It was.
Oh, then you better get on that call.
The dog can win. But I sympathize with you, Chris, because it's so hard, right? It's so hard to find that.
Yep. It is. And obviously as parents, for most of us here, are you all parents here?
Yep. Yes.
Man, like, you start focusing on business, especially when the kids are home and running around, and then you feel that parent guilt kicking in, and you're like, oh man, like, dad, and I'm like, hold on, I gotta do this, hold on, and it's just like, oh man. And then it starts to weigh on you, and then I start to get frantic, and my anxiety goes up, and then I can't handle things that are coming in. It's just, man, I'm with you. It's just like, and there is never that balance.
No.
And it's literally a moment by moment kind of thing of like, which do you choose right now? Then, or and I should be smart about this and just start time blocking. You hear everybody talk about that. It's just like, I need, maybe it's structure. Maybe I just need more structure and strategy to this thing. But
man, kids don't understand time blocks.
No, they don't.
Right. But you know what? One thing, we talk about this, and I know we probably all differ in our own little way. Part of life is, and Tyler just said it, when you're stagnant and you don't have these ups and downs, what is that about? Just being stagnant in itself is not, for me, it's not scalable for me. I have to have some chaos in my life. I do. I mean, it's just, it can't always be perfect. And everything I've done in my life, there's been some type of chaos. And through that chaos, you get better. You continue to grow through the process. You have, again, balance is somewhere in there, but one thing about kids, they like to eat, right?
Yeah.
And I always look at my kids. So my kids are like, hey, dad. And I'm like, look, you want to eat this week? Yeah, then let me close this damn deal. Like, let me get this deal done. Like, that's a part of it.
I have the same conversation with my kids. I'm like, you see this roof over our head right now? Let me take this phone call. I love it, dude.
Yeah,
that's funny. I wish I was out there sitting on the couch with you guys right now.
No, I know, man. This whole video thing, man. We cannot wait to get past this, and we'll have you in, and we'll actually we'll do this by a bonfire. I think that's a good setting for us. Yes.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
So getting back to, because we kind of left off at 15 years old. So getting back to your story. So going through high school, take us back there. So you're starting to see some progress in the weight room and all that.
Yep. So high school was just actually from sophomore, halfway through sophomore year, junior year, senior year. I was the guy in the weight room. I was basically the trainer that everyone would go to. Everyone knew, like, right after school, show up in the weight room, and CP is going to be in there, preaching about bench press, back squat, deadlift, proper form, sets and reps and schemes and everything. So that was my go-to thing. So, like, and for me, that was just my passion, and I just loved it. And because it set me free, I wanted everybody else to feel that, because it was fitness that gave me that back. And so I felt like fitness could give that to everybody. And I just couldn't give that out enough. Right.
Yeah. So where did that was a different time, right? Like, so resources right now you can hop on Instagram, you can find anything anywhere. But at that time, how did you learn this? How did you, proper technique on a back squat, like, keeping your knees back. I mean, those are things that, like, as a teenager, like, none of us knew that, right? We had the Arnold Schwarzenegger modern bodybuilding encyclopedia. That's like, that was my resource, right? Like, what do you have?
Totally. So, well, actually, Tyler, so if you were here in the first 16 minutes, I answered that question.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it. Hey, here's the deal. I was so nervous to ask a question because I was like, I know for sure they covered it. But you know what? I'm not going to listen to that weakness. I'm going to ask it anyway.
Hey, Tyler, you're off the podcast. You're our third host from now on.
Tyler, I'm so sorry, brother. I had to.
Don't apologize, man. You are so much nicer than my co-hosts.
No, so I was saying actually, like, my mom would take me to the grocery store, and every month I would get, the new Flex magazine, Muscle Fitness. So it was literally, it's all the bro science, all the gym science. So my first training was literally like, dude, you want a bigger biceps in 24 hours? Here's how you do it. And it's just like,
sounds legit.
Right. Yeah. The back blaster. So I was thinking like back blaster workout. So, it was very bro science, but at the same time, it was just like, that's what I had access to. So, which then led me into, when I went to college, there was a crazy tangent where I thought I was going to be an engineer. Then I thought I was going to be an airline pilot. So I went a few different directions.
What school did you go to, Chris?
Well,
just say it.
You should ask.
Just say it. I just wanted you to
Forks
say it.
up.
If you didn't know, if you didn't know, them Sun Devils are in the house today.
Of course. So, which, by the way, has a phenomenal exercise science school. Yes. Now, Darren, you graduated in 92?
92, yes.
Okay, that's right. So I was 8 years after you. I was in 2000. Mm-hmm. And so I went to ASU and I got my degree in exercise science, of course, because I was just super passionate about it. But believe it or not, actually, at this point, I did not think I was going to be a personal trainer or anything, because I didn't see much of a future in it, because there were just so many trainers. It was just kind of a dime a dozen. And my father, he's an airline pilot. I looked up to him all my life. And so I had actually gone through and got all my ratings flying. I got private instructor, multi-engine instructor, et cetera, my commercial rating. And so I had actually built up 1,200 hours. I was a flight instructor. I was working as a flight instructor as I was finishing my degree to go into the airlines. And so sure enough, I had an airline. So I graduated and I finished off the rest of my hours as a flight instructor. But I was moonlighting this whole time as a trainer at Powerhouse Gym, starting when I was 19 years old. So I was a trainer at Powerhouse. And then I would go to the airport and I'd teach people how to fly. I'm studying exercise science. I'm just, just to get the degree. And at least it was stuff that was applicable that I just loved to do. And it was awesome because it was real science behind biomechanics, physiology, et cetera. And anyway, fast forward to September, this is 2001, I got an airline interview. And my airline interview was September 13th. 2001.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
How's that for timing?
Oh, man.
Wow. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. So, September 11th, I get the phone call. I was still sleeping at the time. And so I get a phone call from my mom. She, turn on the TV. I turn it on and, obviously I'm just horrified at what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. And I'm shocked by this for about, 30, 45 minutes, just glued to the television. And then the realization hits. I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's going to be a mass, ripple effect across all industries. Mm-hmm. Oh crap. I've invested thousands of dollars into flying and all this, and the airlines they're going to crumble. Right. And so they did. They fired and furloughed for a good year and a half, 2 years after that. And so, within 3 hours, I get a phone call that my interview is canceled. And, and even at that, I'm just going to shoot you guys straight. So I was a flight instructor, certified flight instructor. I've spent probably 700 hours teaching students how to fly. But deep down inside, guys, I don't trust myself flying an airplane. It scares me to fly. I love flying in airplanes, but I don't like flying them.
Wow.
And it was the craziest, but I was forcing myself down a path that I thought was going to be what I needed to do to start a family, to make a living, to be able to provide for my family in the future. Because my dad did such a great job doing that. And I love my dad. He's my hero. So I wanted to do what he did because it works. Yeah. And I was just years forcing myself. And it always gave me a pit in my stomach because I just didn't love flying. I love my dad. He's my hero, but it just never felt right. And then what felt right was driving to the gym afterward and teaching people about fitness because that's my passion. And so I was literally forcing myself down a path that I wasn't supposed to walk for a long time. And sure enough, when everything happened, that was September 11th. On September 12th, I walked right into the local gym, Pure Fitness, met a man named Larry Arnold, greatest dude. And I was just like, I've got a degree in exercise science. He's like, you're hired. Yeah. He's like, okay, cool. So I became a trainer on September 12th. And I was already moonlighting as a trainer at Powerhouse Gym, but I'm like, let's make this official. Yeah. So I went in there and within about 6 months, actually not even that, probably within about 4 months, I had a waiting list. And because I was the trainer in there, I was teaching and I was excited about everything I was doing and people were watching before, I had a crowd of people listening as I was, teaching people. And so then sure enough, what do trainers do in big box gyms when they build up a big list? They leave.
Yep. I'm tired of sharing my money.
Exactly. I was tired of making $8.50 an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take my clients and I'm going to go start a studio with a really good buddy of mine who also had a waiting list there. So we just we left. We took over the training at World Gym. I don't know if you remember. There's a theater on Rural and
Rural.
I want to. On Rural Road and University. It was Cornerstone. Do you remember the Cornerstone area?
Cornerstone, yes.
So
that's where your gym was.
That's where my gym was. And Mark Verstegen went in next door with Athletes Performance.
Absolutely. Know exactly where you are. Yep.
So Mark and I Mark, for everyone listening, he started API, Athletes Performance, which then became Exos.
Yeah.
And he's a brilliant man. So he and I got to be friends over there because we shared the same dumpster. I was running training out of World Gym in Cornerstone, and Mark, he had API right next to us. So anyway, we just had a great time. It was awesome. And my buddy was there. So I was like, hey, well, we need to let people know that we're here, that we're training, things are going great here because we started our own training company inside that World Gym. So I was like, a friend of mine, I landed a gig modeling Hugo Boss clothes on Good Morning Arizona. And so he's like, hey, would you come in here and just wear something on the news real quick for me? So I go in there and I'm modeling stuff on the news. But the thing is, because I made it through those doors, I had an agenda. And I'm like, before I leave, I'm going to ask one of these producers if I can do a morning segment on Good Morning Arizona. Because if I can land a morning segment there, man, I can number one, teach people all about health and fitness. And I can let them know that, hey, we got our own personal training company, everything. So sure enough, if you ask for it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the craziest thing because I spent probably 50 times in that station. I was like, no, I can't do it. They're going to say no. No, I can't do it. Right. But the thing is, and then I had the conversation with myself. I said, look, if they say no, I'm just going to walk out of here in the same place where I walked in. But if they say yes, guess what? I got a TV segment. I walked right up to one of the producers and I was like, hey, I got a degree in exercise science. I got some great ideas. I'd even written some ideas for segments down and I handed them over to her. She takes a look at it. She goes, well, no one's just asked me for a TV segment, but yeah, you want to come in Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be.
I mean, my job as a producer is to find content and you're going to provide me really good content. Yeah, okay, that sounds like a deal.
Dude, that's it. And so many people, they stop themselves, they talk themselves out of doing something that they love doing, something that they could excel at, and putting themselves in a position where they can really make an impact in people's lives. We talk ourselves out of it all the time.
Yes.
There's something so beautiful in just asking. Just pick up the phone and ask. And sure enough, more times than not, you actually get what you want.
Yeah.
That's such a good concept because it sounds so simple, but for whatever reason, like you just said, the head trash, we talk ourselves out of it.
Oh.
But to your point, you're leaving. If you don't ask, you're going to, or whether you get a no or you don't ask, it's the same result. So you might as well ask.
You might as well. What do you have to lose?
Right.
I'm telling you, I'm sitting right here, and yeah, if you look at the resume, it's big. And the only reason I was able to create 90% of those opportunities is because I asked for them. They weren't given to me. I literally just went, it's just like, there's a product that I invented, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I really want to get this into Whole Foods. So I started asking around, and I was like, I really want to talk to the CEO of Whole Foods. Before you know it, after 2 weeks of asking around, I'm on the phone with John Mackey, who's the CEO of Whole Foods. And the thing is, just ask, it's just like, that's probably one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned in my life, is that you can create anything. You can manifest everything. If you simply, you got it, but you speak it into existence. So true. You have to keep asking those, and just ask for the opportunity and ask for the opportunity. And before you know it, and with persistence, there's only been a couple doors I have not been able to unlock.
And that's a really, really good point, because I think, and maybe it's our culture, maybe it's media, because everything's focused around negativity and being pessimistic. Like, at the core, people want to help people. And if you ask for it, if they don't know you want help unless you actually ask for it, like, instead of thinking, okay, hey, this is, oh my gosh, I'm a burden, I'm this, I'm that, like, get rid of that mentality. Like, because that's what our culture drives into us. That's what media like tells us, like, no, you're not good enough. No, you're not good enough. This is an exclusive club. You don't belong here. No, people want to help people. And honestly, and people have, the people that are at the top, people help them get there, so they want to repay it. So don't be afraid to ask.
100%.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
And let me tell you also, someone who actually comes up and asks, that's a proactive person.
Absolutely.
They got what it takes to get there and to excel, because they're simply they're putting it into action. So it's like, if I'm in a position to give that person an opportunity, I'm like, yeah, I like that, because you got the balls to even ask.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's the confidence.
And I've run into that across the board with production companies and CEOs and mayors and governors. It's crazy. Like, they're looking for proactive people that just want to thrive, and they have to have good ideas. So it's been awesome. So anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, this is gold right here. Yeah, this is perfect.
So I landed a gig as the Good Morning Arizona fitness guy, and I ended up.
Wait. What was your first day like? When your first day of content? I need to know what was the content that you provided.
Yes, so it was. I actually brought on a device, and it was called the Body Gym. I'll never forget my very first segment. It's funny you asked the question, because you know as well as I do. It's like that first experience on TV. First of all, I sat there in the parking lot before I walked in, trying not to vomit, because I was so nervous, right? Because it was like, this is my chance. And I brought on a device called the Body Gym, and it's a metabolic calorimeter. So it measures oxygen, the oxygen consumption. So you breathe into this thing, and it's got these gold diodes that actually measures your resting metabolic rate. So it was a really cool breakthrough technology 10 years ago. Actually, no, 18 years ago. And so I wanted to come on and just talk about some of the technology that's out there these days. And I was so nervous, but I also have a lot to say. And so the news anchor woman, sweetest lady, her name is Marty Velasco Hames, and I worked with her for like another 4 or 5 years. But so she opens up the segment. She's like, "Hi, I'm here with Chris Powell, and he's here to explain." And I'm like, "Thanks, Marty." So anyway, dude, I didn't let her get one word in, and I railroaded her, and I go back to it and I watch that clip, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how did they ever invite me back?
You got a lot of knowledge to share in that 90-second segment, though. Like, you got to get it in. I get it.
Yes. You do, and that's the thing. They give you like 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and you got to cram it in.
Yeah.
And I had practiced so much, and so I railroaded her. Anyway, they all got the biggest kick out of it. They thought it was hilarious, but they loved my excitement. So then they invited me back. And after about 6 months of doing these different segments, one of the producers calls me aside and she's like, hey, here's the thing. This is when they had the Nielsen ratings, so they could actually see when people are watching and everything. She's like, hey, we've actually, we've got the Nielsen ratings here. And when you go on for your 5-minute segment, the numbers go up, which is good. But here's the catch. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Because they see you get all excited. And I was talking about super compensation and glycogen depletion and talking phosphocreatine stores because I'm coming from my degree in physiology. And she's like, let me tell you what your audience wants to know. Top 3 exercises for your booty.
I was gonna say butt clenches and
yes, dude, exactly. Like give us a 1-minute meal, and I was like, got it. Yeah. So I shifted my segments, and something really wild happened when I shifted those segments. Again, I'm on every Monday, and I shifted everything to weight loss and simplified it all. Emails started pouring in. And what was really unique about the emails were like, hey, Chris, I need your help. I'm 450 pounds. I'm diabetic, and I just lost my left leg. Hey, Chris, I need your help. I'm 500 pounds, and the doctor said I'm going to die. Hey, Chris, I need your help. I'm 580 pounds. And all of a sudden and this is a statewide broadcast. And I realized that there is a huge population of people out there that are struggling and they're suffering. And the mountain is so big, they don't think they can climb it. They don't know where to start, and they're desperate. And they're the most amazing people that prided themselves on being invisible. They say like, I only go out at night because I can't handle the ridicule. And the emails were pouring in, and I didn't even know that they were there. And there was one in particular. There was a gentleman. He was 630 pounds, and he wrote in. He's like, hey, dude, I've been watching you for like 6 months. I just think you're a really cool guy, and I don't know where to start. But he's like, I'm 25 years old. I was 23 at the time. He's like, I'm 25, and the doctor just left my house. He said, I'm not going to live to see 30. And he's like, this isn't the life I wanted for myself. I want to get married. I want to be a dad. I want to do all these different things. It was a really heartbreaking letter, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And he had been stuck in his house for 2 years. Wow. And I was like, I thought about it for a little while. He left his address down below. And about a week later, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I drove out to his house. I knew he was there, right? Just I wasn't going to go anywhere. And so I just knocked on the door. He answered the door. He's like, dude. And I was like, hey, what's up? I just want to meet you. And we sat down. 10 minutes in, I'm like, this is one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. We laughed the whole time. And I was like, man, I don't know where this is going to go, but I'll see you Tuesday. And I showed up every other day for 2 years. He ended up becoming one of my best friends, lost 400 pounds, and totally changed his life. So he went from 630 pounds to 229. I rounded up all my doctor buddies. We got his teeth done, got his eyes done. He 5 skin surgeries to remove the skin. And he was a great looking dude. I got him certified to be a trainer. And then we actually ended up living together for 2 years after that. But he was my dude, man. Like, and he still is. So David Smith is his name. And man, we had the most amazing adventures. And so we went through that. And the craziest thing though, is that, about after he lost all the weight, he posted his befores and afters on a social media website that you guys wouldn't know anything about. It's called MySpace.
Yeah. So top 10 friends.
I would say he made your top 10.
Right. And so he posted his befores and afters on MySpace, and a website called eBombs World. Yeah. Pulled his befores and afters off, and then they published them, and it went viral. And within a week, we're getting calls from Oprah, 2020, the Today Show, because they were blown away at this transformation. And we had already done it. Like he'd already lost the weight and kept it off for like a year at this point. I mean, it was 2 years to lose all the weight, and then a year of all the surgeries. And so we did a crazy circuit of all these TV shows, and they're just blown away at this transformation and our friendship and everything. So it was a really wild ride.
So in that time, had you worked with any other individuals that had this? It was okay. Just David.
Just David. Yeah. Wow. And so I didn't, coming into it, my whole approach was so scientific. I didn't understand any of the psychology behind it. Okay. I didn't realize that, because I felt that he was changing, and we were transforming his body because of carb cycling and because of progressive overload, because of all these different things. those were happening, but the only reason those were actually happening was because there was trust and there was friendship and there was camaraderie and there was, you know, and there was so much that we satisfied in each other's emotional needs of us being best friends. And because of that, everything else fell into place. And then the journey actually went in a few different directions from there. Like actually, as we were going through that, I invented a nutrition system, and I saved up all my money, and I tooled a factory in China. I sent over $200,000. The whole thing went upside down. I lost everything. Also during this time, I herniated a disc in my spine. Doctor put me on Vicodin, and I got hooked. And so, and I was heavy into opiates for 2 years straight. And so losing all my money with the business and not knowing what I'm doing there, because I didn't understand business at all. I didn't understand tooling factories and shipping product over and all that. I'm a trainer by trade. And that combined with the painkiller addiction, you know, as I was losing everything financially, I realized that while the painkillers killed the pain physically, it also killed the pain emotionally of the fact that I was losing everything. And I started to feel like I felt like a failure. But I was also, I'm Chris Powell. I'm the fitness guy on Good Morning Arizona. And everyone was like, dude, you're the man. You're doing all this stuff. You're inventing things. You changed David's life. You know, you're doing all these things. And so there's all this pressure to maintain that, you know, and I got to be this guy. And I spent 2 years covering it up with painkillers, and it got to a point where I was out of control. And I moved in with a good buddy of mine who was also really struggling with painkillers as well. So that's not a good situation. You know, you feed off each other. And he ended up going upside down with them, and he ended up in the hospital for 8 weeks, and then in a clinic, methadone clinic. And it was during this time I lost everything. I lost all my money. And when we were living in this condo together, when we lost the condo, I couldn't afford to live anywhere. So I literally had a duffel bag. I put it in the trunk of my car, and I started sleeping on couches. And and this is 2008, May 2008.
Wow.
So, you know, and we'd been on this crazy ride, and, you know, like, and David and I were still best friends, and he was calling me on the regular, just checking in on me, because he knew I was in the thick of it. And so even like here's the thing. The world saw how I had changed his life, but they didn't see behind the scenes of him helping me change my life, because he was always there for me. And even after we'd gone through all that so much stuff. And so I remember I was sleeping on couches, and at this point, because I saw my roommate go upside down, my next door neighbor, who also knew that I was struggling at the time, he's like, hey, why don't you come just chill out and sweat it out? You can stay in my guest room, because he knew I was heavily addicted to opiates at the time. And so he let me stay in his guest room, and I bit the bullet. I grinded it out for 3 days.
Oh man, that had to be so hard, man. You didn't have any medical help, so you basically bit the bullet and just slept on the couch and just sweat. Man, that's a lot of people don't come back from that now.
No, and I listen, for anybody listening, I don't recommend that. Talk to your doctor. You got to get help for that. I didn't know better. I was just dealing with all my own stuff. And so it's the only thing I knew what to do at the time. And so, so I did it. And then after 3 days, the struggle is always there, because it's just like when things aren't going well, you're always going to want to reach for something that's going to numb it. You always want the escape. But it was something I just knew I couldn't go back to, because I had tried and failed so many times before. And so I ended up picking up and thinking geographical therapy is going to work. So I packed everything in my car, drove out to California, slept on my friend's couch out in California for a couple of weeks, tried to get a few jobs out there, and nothing was happening. So I woke up in California one day, and I realized, I'm like, dude, I can't run away from my problems. I still want to reach for painkillers every day. I haven't, which is that's a win, but I got to go back to Arizona, and I got to clean up my messes. I got to dig myself out of my hole financially, because at this point I owed almost $200,000 to people I had borrowed money from to run my product. And so I was running away from a lot. And so on the way out of town, I actually stopped in a tattoo parlor, and I got the Roman numerals 1 through 1,000,000 tattooed down my side. And I told the girl who was tattooing him on it, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I was like, I got to have something to live for. And this is my promise to myself, is that by the time I leave this earth, I'm going to change 1 million lives. And so she tattooed the Roman numerals down. It's 1, 100, 500, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million. And so I figured I'll collect thank yous. And as I do, I'll cross them off. And I had no idea where the future was going to take me at this point. So I drove back to Arizona. David opened up his house to me, David and his family, and I slept, my buddy that I helped lose all the weight, slept on his couch for 6 months, got back on my feet, started working again, started training again. And within 10 months of that, within 3 months, I went to a self-improvement seminar where I met my future wife, Heidi. And within 9 months, I ended up, like about 8 months later, got a random phone call from a friend of mine who had actually seen some of, David's transformation. And she's like, dude, this is amazing what you guys have been through, blah, 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 blah. This is awesome. And she's like, hey, I let her know, because now that I had gotten back on my feet, I was actually going to open up a studio, and I was going to start working with super obese individuals taken through transformation. I said, well, I'm going to start doing this with a lot more people. Do you guys want to shoot it? Because the friend of mine who called me up, she was a casting agent for a production company. She goes, hold on, let me talk to my boss. Her boss calls me up 2 hours later. He's like, dude, great job. I saw what you did. And I was like, awesome, thanks. He's like, would you be interested in coming out to LA and consulting us on the development of a TV show? And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's go. Yeah, for sure. So I drove out to LA with Heidi at the time, and we sat there and we actually created the whole concept for Extreme. At the time, it was the working title was Obese, because it was going to be dramatic, and we wanted to tell the real story of the emotion behind it. And so we started creating the concept for a show. Came back, went back and forth with them, just phone calls, etc. Went out to LA twice on the development of the show, mapped the whole thing out, went home, didn't hear anything for 3 months. No phone call, no nothing. Random phone call out of the blue one afternoon. It was JD, the CEO of the production company. He's like, dude, we just sold your show.
Wow.
Like, get out of here. Get out of here. No way. And remember, I was a consultant, and we were developing the show for a real celebrity trainer.
Right.
Because we're the celebrity trainer. And I was like, get out of here. I was like, that's so cool. He's just like, yeah. And he's a really dramatic guy. Like, he's awesome. He's just a really dramatic guy, though. And he's just like, yeah, so you want to know who we sold it to? It's like, oh, yeah, of course. He's like, ABC.
Wow.
Like, oh, that's awesome.
Never heard of him.
And I was like, this is amazing. It was so cool. I was like, well, go team. He's like, well, yeah, go team. I said, so who's the guy? Who's the trainer? Long, drawn out pause. He goes, you are.
Oh, wow.
And Heidi was actually sitting in my kitchen. David was over in the corner. I go, I did one of these things.
Yeah, oh yeah.
and so I'm like, wait, hold on. What does that mean? He goes, well, it means you're leaving in 5 weeks, so pack your bags. And I was like, get out of here. Okay, so and the rest is history. I hit the road. We did 76 transformations over 5 years.
Man, crazy. Well, you were checking them off the side then, weren't you?
Yeah.
It was incredible. Blessed, absolutely blessed. And, the show, aired in the United States, and then Warner Brothers bought the show, and they sold it around the world to 148 countries. Wow. So it's been really wild, and now, so it's, Brazil and Slovakia and United Arab Emirates, and it's in Russia on TLC, and it's in Argentina. I mean, it's just the coolest thing to have had that impact, and so, yeah, it's been a really, really wild ride. That's for sure.
So, okay. So you had one transformation with David. What was it like? And what did you learn? Like, what were some of the things that you did not anticipate, like experiencing or learning through the process? Because, David is one personality. Now you're meeting completely different types of people across the board and working with them and changing their lives. What were some of the things that stuck out to you through those 5 years that you didn't anticipate?
Well, the one thing that I really learned as far as like the root of transformation, again, remember, I'm a very science-based person. And so it was always about the physiological mechanisms behind, the nutrition, the exercise, et cetera. But I realized transformation has nothing to do with that at all. That is 100% secondary. The real path of transformation, and this actually took a couple, this really didn't come to fruition, this realization, until season 2-ish, season 3. And it was through experience. It was through a lot of the life coaching I'd been through myself, my own personal experience, connecting and communicating with Heidi about what we had been through and what we were mapping through this process. I'll get to the gist of it right here. The path of transformation for any human, this is not just an overweight or an obese thing, but the path of any permanent sustainable transformation, it's all rooted in personal integrity. And I'll define that really quick, like of what that is to us. And that is doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, when nobody else is watching. Mm-hmm. And the very first conversation I have with anybody as they're about to go through the journey of transformation, I'll say, the only reason you're sitting right here in front of me right now, the only reason you've ever struggled is because you don't have integrity. Now you can imagine how that lands.
Yeah, that's
usually
not,
people are like,
yeah.
Look, and
You don't know me.
Yeah, right. Oh
yeah.
yeah. And I say, hold on, let me clarify this. I know without a shadow of a doubt that if you tell someone you're going to do something, you do it. If you tell your friend, if you tell Darren, hey, I'll be there at lunch at noon, Tyler.
Just saying.
I'm messing with you.
Yeah, I'm thinking I need to come out to Arizona and get a personal transformation for sure.
I'm messing with you. Okay, but like if you tell Darren, hey, I'm going to be there at noon, you show up at noon. You show up, you're there at 11:58. It's like, hey, you tell your kids you're going to pick them up at school on time, you're there. Right? Like if you tell someone you're going to do something, you're going to come through for them, you do it. And then, but then I'll look them straight in the eye and say, well, how many times have you said the diet starts Monday? Mm-hmm. I'd be like, oh, how many times have you said 2017, this is my year? Oh, how many times have you said, I'm going to set my clock for 5 a.m. tomorrow and I'm going to do 30 minutes of cardio, and you hit snooze, 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 snooze. Oh, I'm like, you have integrity with everybody else except yourself, except the most important person in the world. That's why you're sitting here right now. And it's my job as a trainer not to just lay out some stupid diet and exercise program, because there's no power in that. Yep. All the power for transformation lies in your heart and in your word to yourself and following through with that word. And it's my job, my sole job as your coach, is to help you make smart promises, commitments to yourself, and hold you